All right, everyone, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive?
Always.
Awesome. This time, we're jumping headfirst into the world of smartphones.
Ooh, sounds
It
exciting.
is. Specifically, we're focusing on Apple and all the buzz surrounding the iPhone 16. We've got a bunch of fresh reports and surveys, all from October 2024, that we're going to break down.
I'm ready to dig in.
So first off, we've got this Barclays Capital report from October 1st.
Okay.
And, well, they're kind of waving a red flag about the iPhone 16's demand. They're talking about, like, order cuts at a major supplier in Taiwan. Always a bit of a head-scratcher when that happens.
Yeah, definitely raises some eyebrows.
Right. Plus, they're pointing to these shorter global lead times for the iPhone 16 compared to, previous launches.
Lead times. Well, for anyone who hasn't obsessively tracked iPhone launches like we have, lead times are basically the time it takes from when you hit that buy button to when the phone actually arrives at your door.
Exactly. And usually they're a pretty solid clue about how strong or not so strong the demand is.
Yep. Shorter lead times could mean people aren't exactly clamoring to get their hands on the iPhone 16.
Or, maybe Apple's just gotten insanely good at predicting demand and, like, fine-tune their supply chain to perfection. It's a bit of a puzzle, isn't it?
It is like a little tech mystery.
Exactly. But then, hold on, because we've got this JP Morgan report from October 13th, and it kind of throws a wrench in things.
Oh, how so?
Well, they see those shorter lead times, too. But they've also got their own consumer survey data from October 7th to add to the mix.
Okay, interesting. What did the survey say?
Get this. 52% of consumers are actually looking to buy a new iPhone.
Wow, more than half.
Right. And they say that China, in particular, is showing strong interest. So now we've got these mixed signals. Weak demand or a buying frenzy. I'm so confused.
Well, think of it this way. There's a big difference between wanting something and actually buying it.
Oh, yeah. Like when I spend hours online shopping, filling my cart with all sorts of things I don't actually need.
Exactly. It's window shopping versus the commitment of a purchase.
Makes total sense.
People might be interested in the new iPhone, but factors like the price tag, the economic climate, those things can make anyone hesitate.
For sure. For sure. Especially with iPhones not exactly known for being budget-friendly.
Right. Plus, there's always that fear of missing out on the next big thing. Like, what if the iPhone 17 comes out with some mind-blowing feature and you just bought the 16?
Oh, the dreaded buyer's remorse.
Yeah.
Okay, so JP Morgan dug deeper into all of this, like why people upgrade or why they don't.
Yep, they went full-on psychology mode with this survey.
Awesome. So, spill the beans. What's motivating people to buy a new iPhone?
Well, at the top of the list, we got the usual suspects. A faster device, that 5G connectivity, maybe a sleeker design.
Got to keep up with those trends.
Of course. And let's not forget the camera.
Oh, yeah. Got to have that high-quality camera for all the selfies and social media posts.
Exactly. Now, AI features are starting to get some attention, but they're not the main driver yet.
Okay, interesting. So what about the flip side? What's making people hold back from buying a new iPhone?
The top reasons are pretty clear-cut. First, the price. iPhones are, let's face it, expensive.
True.
And then there's brand loyalty. Some people are just die-hard fans of other brands.
The Android enthusiasts.
Exactly. But here's the kicker. Almost 40% of people who aren't planning to buy a new iPhone say it's because they just bought a new iPhone recently.
Whoa, really?
Almost 40%.
Yep. It seems like a lot of people are happily stuck in that upgrade cycle.
That's some serious brand loyalty right there. Apple must be doing something right to keep people coming back for more.
They definitely have a knack for creating that gotta have it feeling. But can they maintain that hold in the long run, especially with all this talk about weakening demand?
That is the question, isn't it? So many moving parts in the smartphone game. All right, before we get too lost in the speculation, let's break down this whole upgrader versus switcher thing. JP Morgan actually separates their survey results by existing iPhone users, the upgraders, and those coming from Android, the switchers.
A good distinction. Right. So get this. A whopping 79% of iPhone users are thinking about upgrading to the iPhone 16.
Wow, that's a lot of people ready to jump on the newest model.
Yeah, and the survey says they're really gravitating towards those higher-end models, like the Pro and Pro Max.
Makes sense. Apple fans love those premium features.
Oh, absolutely. But what about those thinking about switching from Android? Are they as enthusiastic about the iPhone 16?
Well, the survey says that 61% of Android users are considering a new iPhone.
Interesting. And are they also leaning towards the Pro models?
They are. It seems like those high-end features are tempting people from both sides of the smartphone fence.
That's a big deal for Apple, right?
Yeah.
getting those Android users to switch over.
It is. That switcher market is crucial for Apple's growth strategy. If they can pull in those Android users, that opens up a whole new level of market dominance.
It's like a high-stakes battle for smartphone supremacy. Okay, before we get completely sidetracked by this epic battle, let's talk about the Apple Watch. The J.P. Morgan report has some interesting insights into the smartwatch market, too.
Ooh, yes, the world of wrist-worn tech.
Right. So their survey found that 54% of consumers are planning to buy a smartwatch.
Wow, that's a lot of people embracing the smartwatch life.
It is. And the report says the main reasons are, you guessed it, fitness and health tracking. People are loving those features that help them monitor their activity, sleep, heart rate, all that good stuff.
It's like having a personal health coach right there on your wrist.
Exactly. But here's a curious detail. Apple Watch ownership in China has actually declined, with Huawei gaining ground.
That's interesting. It seems like there might be growing preference for local brands in China.
Maybe people are feeling a bit more patriotic when it comes to their tech choices. Or maybe Huawei's just offering something really compelling that's winning people over.
Could be a combination of factors, really. But it's a good reminder that even a giant like Apple isn't invincible.
Competition keeps things interesting, right?
Absolutely. It pushes everyone to innovate and improve.
True, true. But hold on, we got one more piece of the puzzle to fit in those intriguing lead times for the iPhone 16. Remember those?
I do, and I'm curious to see what JP Morgan has to say about them now.
Well, in their latest report from October 20th, they say those lead times have stabilized in major markets, like the US, China, the UK, and Germany.
Stabilized, huh? So does that mean those earlier worries about weak demand might have been a bit overblown?
It's possible. Remember those reports from Barclays suggesting that shorter lead times could be a sign of trouble? Well, with those lead times leveling out, it seems like Apple might have just adjusted their production to align with the actual demand. Maybe those initial concerns were just a blip.
That makes sense. But remember, consumer behavior can be unpredictable. Just when we think we've got things figured out, things can shift.
Right. But you know it's not unpredictable.
What's that?
Apple's services revenue. It just keeps chugging along. And speaking of which, we've got this report from J.P. Morgan from October 4th that focuses on the App Store.
Ah, the App Store, the heart of Apple's services empire.
Exactly. And they're reporting some pretty impressive revenue growth for Apple's services segment.
Ooh, that's always good news for Apple.
Right. Apparently, September revenue exceeded their usual seasonal trends, which is a good sign. And they're saying this points to a positive outlook for their fourth quarter earnings. This is a key point. Even if those iPhone sales are a bit wobbly, Apple's got this massive services revenue stream to fall back on.
It's like their secret weapon, that steady flow of income from the App Store, Apple Music, iCloud, and all those other services.
It's like a built-in safety net, woven from apps and subscriptions. And that's why investors are always watching those services numbers so closely. It's a vital sign for Apple's overall health.
Definitely. It tells a bigger story than just how many iPhones they're selling.
Exactly. So we've covered a lot of ground here. We've got these mixed signals about iPhone demand, we've peeked into the minds of consumers, and we've seen the steady beat of Apple's services machine. It's a complex picture, but that's what makes this deep dive so fascinating, right?
Absolutely. It's like a puzzle we're piecing together, bit by bit.
Exactly. But hold on tight because we're just getting started. We've got a lot more to uncover in part 2.
And we're back. Still digging into the world of smartphones.
You know it!
Picking up where we left off with those iPhone and Android users, what's really driving their decisions?
Yeah, what's the story with those iPhone fans who just got to have the latest model? Right, like 79% said they were thinking about upgrading to the 16.
Yeah, those eager upgraders. Well, the survey actually dives into their upgrade habits a bit deeper.
Ooh, tell me more.
It turns out a big chunk of them are on this rapid upgrade cycle. Almost half, 48% of the people using an iPhone 15 or 14 are already eyeing the 16.
Wow. Every year or two, they're getting a new phone. That's commitment. Maybe it's just the excitement of new tech, always having the latest and greatest.
That's definitely part of it. Apple's pretty good at dangling those shiny new features, a faster processor, a better camera.
Oh, for sure. It's like, ooh, look at that new camera. I got to have it.
Exactly. And then there's that social aspect, too. Having the latest iPhone can be a bit of a status symbol, like you're in the know, you've got the cool tech.
Like a digital badge of honor.
Exactly. Now, on the Android side, 61% of users said they were considering an iPhone, which is up from previous years.
So Apple's definitely winning over some Android folks. But why? What's tempting them to make the switch?
Well, it seems they're especially drawn to those higher-end iPhone Pro models.
Those are the ones with all the fancy features, right? Like the super cameras and the extra processing power.
Exactly. And for those who are really into photography, the cameras on the Pro iPhones are consistently top-notch.
Yeah, I can see how that would be a major draw. Especially in this world of Instagram and TikTok, everyone wants to capture those amazing shots.
Right. And then there's just the overall performance and smoothness of the iPhone experience. Apple's known for its powerful processors and its user-friendly interface.
I've heard that some Android users get frustrated with their phones slowing down over time. Maybe the promise of a consistently smooth experience is appealing.
That's certainly possible. Plus, let's not forget the Apple ecosystem. Once you start using multiple Apple devices, it all just works together so seamlessly.
It's like a magical tech utopia. But iPhones do come with a hefty price tag. How are those Android users justifying the cost, especially if they're used to more budget-friendly options?
Good question. While the report didn't get into specific price concerns, maybe those Android users who are ready to switch are just willing to pay a premium for what they perceive as the benefits of an iPhone.
You mean like the status, the smoother experience, the better camera?
Exactly. They see it as an investment, like buying a luxury car. You're paying for more than just the basic functions.
I get it. It's about the whole package. Okay, so we've talked about the upgraders and the switchers. But what about those folks who are resisting the iPhone's allure? What's keeping them on the sidelines?
The top reasons are pretty straightforward. Price, of course.
Yeah, iPhones aren't exactly known for being easy on the wallet.
Right. And then there's loyalty to other brands. Some people are just die-hard fans of Samsung, Google, or other Android manufacturers.
The Android world is vast and diverse. There's so many different brands and models to choose from.
Exactly. There's a phone for every taste and budget.
It's like a smartphone buffet. But what about that third reason? You know, the one where people aren't buying a new iPhone simply because they just bought a new iPhone? Almost 40% said that was their reason.
Yeah, the recent purchase crowd, it definitely highlights the strength of Apple's customer loyalty.
But how do they do it?
Yeah.
What's their secret to keeping people so loyal in such a competitive market?
Well, it's a combination of factors. They've built a strong brand identity with a reputation for quality and innovation. And they're good at creating those desirable products that people just want to have.
It's true. There's something about the design and feel of an iPhone that's just really appealing.
Right. And then there's that whole ecosystem we talked about. Once you're using an iPhone, an iPad, a MacBook, it all works together so smoothly that it's hard to imagine switching to another brand.
Plus, let's not forget their customer service. Apple's known for taking good care of their users, which can make a big difference in building loyalty.
Absolutely. It's that peace of mind knowing that if something goes wrong, you'll have support. Okay, so we've covered the ins and outs of iPhone loyalty, but what about the world beyond the smartphone?
Ooh, you mean like smartwatches and all that cool wearable tech?
Exactly. Remember that JP Morgan report mentioned 54% of consumers are planning to buy a smartwatch?
Yeah, those little wrist computers are becoming super popular. But the report also said that Apple Watch ownership in China has actually declined, with Huawei gaining ground.
Right, we touched on that earlier. It seems like local brands are becoming more popular in the Chinese market.
So it's like a support your local team kind of thing, but for tech.
Maybe? Or maybe Huawei is just hitting the right notes with its features and pricing. Whatever the reason, it's a good reminder that even giants like Apple face competition.
Competition keeps everyone on their toes. But what's driving this overall increase in smartwatch interest?
According to the report, it's all about fitness and health tracking. People are really into monitoring their activity levels, sleep patterns, heart rate, all that good stuff.
It's like having a mini health lab right there on your wrist.
Exactly. And for many, that personalized data and feedback can be really motivating.
I can see that. Okay, so smartwatches are clearly having a moment. But let's circle back to those iPhone 16 lead times. Remember all that talk about shorter lead times possibly signaling weak demand?
Yeah, it was a bit of a mystery for a while there.
Well, JP Morgan's latest report from October 20th says those lead times have stabilized in several key markets, including the US, China, the UK, and Germany.
It's interesting. So maybe those early concerns were a bit premature.
That's what it looks like. It seems like Apple might have just made some adjustments to their production to align with the actual demand.
That makes sense. But as we've said before, consumer behavior can be a fickle beast.
Never a dull moment in the tech world. But you know what's consistently strong?
What's that?
Apple's services revenue. And we've got this JP Morgan report from October 4th that focuses on the App Store. the crown jewel of Apple's services segment.
Always a fascinating topic. What are they saying about the App Store?
Well, they're reporting impressive revenue growth, with September revenue exceeding their usual seasonal trends.
That's a good sign. The App Store is a major moneymaker for Apple.
Exactly. And they're saying this strong performance points to a positive outlook for their fourth quarter earnings. This is important because even if iPhone sales fluctuate, Apple has this steady stream of services revenue to rely on.
It's like their financial safety net.
Right. And that's why those services numbers are so closely watched by investors. They're a key indicator of Apple's overall health. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this part. We've explored the motivations of iPhone upgraders, those thinking about switching from Android, and those resisting the iPhone's pull. We've also talked about the rise of smartwatches and the strength of Apple's services revenue.
It's a fascinating puzzle trying to understand all the different forces at play in the smartphone market.
It is. But we're not done yet. There's still one big question looming. What does all this mean for the future of smartphones? And we're back for the grand finale of our smartphone deep dive.
The climax.
Exactly. And the big question on everyone's mind is, what's next for these pocket-sized wonders? Are iPhones about to hit their peak, or is Apple about to unveil something even more mind-blowing?
Well, if I had a crystal ball that could accurately predict the future of tech, I'd probably be sipping cocktails on a private island somewhere.
Huh. Fair enough.
But based on what we've seen in these reports, I think it's safe to say that the lines between smartphones and other devices are getting blurrier and blurrier. We're seeing tighter integration with wearables like those smartwatches we talked about, and the rise of foldable phones is adding a whole new dimension to the game.
Foldable phones. Those are so cool. It's like having a tablet that can magically shrink down to fit in your pocket. Do you think those are going to be the next big thing, like the must-have gadget everyone wants?
They definitely have the potential to shake things up. Imagine a device that can seamlessly transition from a phone to a tablet-like experience that could revolutionize how we consume content, how we work, even how we play games.
It's like having a portable entertainment center right there in your pocket. But aren't foldable phones still super expensive?
For now, yes. But as with any new tech, as production ramps up and competition increases, those prices will likely come down.
That's one of the best things about the tech world. It's always evolving, always pushing the limits.
Absolutely.
But it's not just about the hardware, right? The software is evolving too. What kind of innovations are you seeing on that front?
Well, the word on everyone's lips is AI.
AI, artificial intelligence.
The one and only. We're already seeing AI integrated into smartphone cameras, voice assistants, even health tracking apps. But that's just scratching the surface.
So our phones are going to become even smarter. Like they'll be able to do our taxes and write our essays for us.
Well, maybe not that smart, at least not yet. But imagine an AI assistant that can anticipate your needs, manage your schedule, even help you compose emails. We're moving towards a world where our devices aren't just tools, they're becoming extensions of ourselves.
That's both exciting and a little bit terrifying. But hey, as long as my phone doesn't start judging my terrible taste in music, I'm all for it. So what does this all mean for Apple? Can they stay ahead of the curve in this crazy, constantly changing tech landscape?
Well, they've definitely got a few things going for them. First, they've got that loyal customer base that we've talked about. People trust Apple, and that brand loyalty is a powerful force. Second, they have a real talent for creating those sleek, beautiful products. Even their biggest critics have to admit Apple knows how to design a good-looking gadget.
It's true. There's something so satisfying about holding a well-designed iPhone, you know. It just feels good. But are loyal fans and a knack for good design enough to keep them at the top of the smartphone heap?
It's a solid foundation, but they can't just sit back and relax. The competition is fierce, and companies like Samsung, Google, and Huawei are constantly innovating and coming up with new ways to wow consumers. Apple needs to keep pushing the boundaries, exploring new technologies, and finding ways to keep their customers engaged and excited.
So it's a balancing act. They need to maintain that classic Apple feel while also embracing the future.
Exactly. They need to find that sweet spot between familiarity and innovation.
All right, so the future of smartphones is still a bit of a mystery, but it's going to be one heck of a ride watching it all unfold. Any final thoughts for our listeners before we wrap up this deep dive?
My advice: stay curious, stay informed, and don't be afraid to try new things. The tech world is full of surprises, and who knows what incredible innovations are just around the corner.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And that's a wrap on our smartphone saga. Thanks for joining us on this journey through the wild and wacky world of iPhones, Androids, smartwatches, and AI. Until next time, stay techie.